Dr. Renee Tucker. Today we're talking about equine asthma and also uh, chronic coughing, COPD, RAO, heaves, all those things. And I would like to tell you two things about this talk is not about. One, it's not about the differences between all of those because I really feel they're all the same thing on a spectrum. Okay, start off with chronic coughing and then it kind of progresses and can get different names along the way. The other thing is, I will not be talking about medications. So there's plenty of that on the internet. And really, if you want medication information, you should be talking to your veterinarian because it should be specific to your horse. But I would like to talk about why horses have this in the first place. Okay, if you don't already know me, I'm Dr. Renee Tucker, as I said, equine veterinarian for just about 30 years. I do holistic work, certified in chiropractic, acupuncture, and created my own energy technique, the Tucker BioKinetic Technique, or TBT. Okay, so what I like to do in this talk is kind of unwind what's been going on with equine asthma. And I'm just going to use asthma as kind of an umbrella term, and I mean all the things in the title, okay? First of all, a long time ago, we have been trained to think if I have a group of symptoms, then it must be a disease, and therefore I must either need medication or possibly a vaccine. That's just how we've been trained to think. So with coughing, if it's a chronic cough and it gets worse with dust or pollen, or if it gets worse with exercise, that's got to be asthma or COPD or something. Obviously, there's differences between all those, but that's another talk. Okay, so umbrella term, asthma. All right, we've been trained. We got these symptoms. It's got to be that. It's got to be asthma. That's it. Okay, what do? We got asthma? We take medication. And make sure you have an inhaler. How many movies is that in? Where's the inhaler? Okay. Okay, moving along, that we've been trained to think that way because I think we all mostly know that. It's just I want us to unwind that. And let me tell you a little story about that. The unwinding. What started for me with the unwinding of this thought process is I have a friend. She's still my friend. I met her decades ago. She's from Romania. She moved here when her family moved here. We were on a hike, and she was asking me, "What is this thing? Allergies? What's asthma? What are you guys talking about?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What are we talking about? Everyone knows what's asthma. Everyone knows that." And she said, "There's no word in Romania for asthma or allergies. There's none." She said, "I walked through wheat fields to go to school. Me and my friends, we saw all the flying pollen that you guys are talking about. No one coughs. No one has allergies. No one has asthma. What are you talking about?" So that, at the time, I was just kind of confused, and I thought there was a mistranslation. But it turns out they didn't have it at the time. So that got my brain thinking, wait a minute. They don't have it. How do you not have it? Weird, right? Okay. So add to that just the fact that we have these medications now that are helpful. And by the way, if your horse needs to breathe, you can use medications. I'm not upset about medication use, okay? It's just I want to move us from I have these symptoms, so I need medication, to I have these symptoms, let me find out why and fix that. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm getting there, okay? But first, let's talk about how the lungs normally work. And that I mean how they normally get rid of allergens and stuff that's in the lungs. Because we breathe in dirt and dust and pollen and all kind of tiny particulates all day long. For example, if you've ever lunged a horse in a dusty area, you know how much dust is in your nose when you're blowing your nose later, okay? And that's because we have some longer nose hairs that are designed to stop the larger particulates and just stop them there from getting to the lungs. What you may not know is those little hairs continue smaller and smaller all the way down your trachea to the lungs. Okay, they're not in the lungs, just to the lungs, okay? So we've got these little hairs in the trachea or windpipe. They're called cilia. Cilia, cilia. And they are silly because they are always doing the wave. They are always waving their hair. The little hairs going waving up. They're always waving up the trachea. It's carrying the larger particles that have landed on those hairs and move them up back towards the mouth. And when they get up to the mouth, we swallow them. And then they die in the pit of fiery acid in our stomach. All right, just a little dramatic effect there. But that is what happens, okay? Now, aside from the cilia, that's one thing we've got for defense. We also have surfactant. Surfactant is like a film that covers the alveoli of the lung. The alveoli are the smallest parts of the lung, right? You got your trachea, your bronchi, your bronchioles. It's all branching out like a tree. And then at the end, you have these cute little alveoli. You know, on a microscope and a slide, they look like tiny pink broccoli. It's so adorable. Okay, so the tiny pink broccoli is where the gas exchange happens, where the oxygen is taken into the alveoli and the carbon dioxide is gone out, and that goes into the lungs. Meanwhile, this little pretty clear surfactant is like a film, and if there's any dust down at the alveoli level, the surfactant then moves kind of like a river and carries the dust up and out again towards the mouth. That is what's supposed to happen. Whatever we breathe in, it's got to go back out. And so we've got surfactant and cilia that move things that aren't supposed to be in the lungs out. So what can happen? Let me give you an example. You may have heard of smoker's cough. Okay, so people who smoke cigarettes, they don't cough generally a lot during the day. I don't know a lot of smokers, sorry, but I am familiar with smoker's cough. In the morning, smokers who smoke regularly cough a lot. They are coughing thick, mucusy, coughing. They don't want to cough because it's uncomfortable and it doesn't tend to stop very quickly. And it doesn't stop until they smoke another cigarette. That's smoker's cough. It's only in the morning and it stops when you smoke. What's happening? Stuff that is in the cigarette itself stops the cilia from doing their wave. All day long with the smoking, they are paralyzed. They cannot do their wave. So the stuff accumulates in the lungs until the person is sleeping. Okay, so then the body's like, okay, we can all work. And they are just shoving the stuff up as fast as they can. And then when the person wakes up, then there's all this phlegm and gross stuff that the body is trying to get rid of. All right, so that's the idea of smoker's cough, that there is a toxin and that it paralyzes part of the body's lung defense. But the smoker thing, it's temporary. It's only while you're smoking and a little while after. And then it goes away. So then, what happens when we have another toxin? Let me just cut to the chase here. What's happening with all this asthma, COPD, blah, 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 it's all a spectrum, is we have a toxin in our lungs. And it's not just any toxin. It's several toxins, and they are amalgamated together. At the molecular level, they are all connected, stuck together, and they're too heavy for their surfactant to get them out. They are stuck there. These amalgamated toxins then, they're interesting because they have an affinity towards lung tissue, which means they love lung tissue. However they get in the body, they go to the lungs. And if the lung tissue that they're nearby, or on really, if that gets inflamed, irritated, scar tissued, it no longer is lung tissue. The toxin just moves on to more lung tissue. This is why this syndrome, if you will, of asthma tends to progress, because there's all this lung tissue that's getting damaged, inflamed, scarred, and this amalgamated toxin moves on. Kind of evil, really. Okay. Let me see. Sorry. You may be wondering why these toxins are not taken out by the liver, which most toxins are dealt with the liver and liver process, because this amalgamated toxin, it loves lung tissue. So the body can't pick it up and take it to the liver. It is stuck in the lungs, the lining of the lungs. When this toxin is near the lungs, as I mentioned earlier, it gets irritated, inflamed. The surfactant thickens. Plus, then you have all the inflammatory products from the immune system who's trying to help. Okay, because when the surfactant cannot get this stuff out, it's like, hey, immune system, I need help. I can't get rid of this. So now you have the immune system. So that's more inflammatory products. Everything gets thickened. And there's way less ability for the body to actually do the gas exchange, i.e. breathing and getting oxygen. It can't. Luckily, there's plenty of lung service. There's lots, okay? So we just need to basically stop this toxin from being there and destroying stuff and traveling to the next part of the lung and destroying the next part. By the way, it can all be fixed. Don't worry. Okay. Now, you may wonder how these toxins get there. Well, I'm going to tell you, because it's an amalgamated toxin, it's not like a whole bunch of toxins get together and decide to form a band. Okay? No, they're put into the body as an amalgamated toxin. Okay? And those are injections. So they are in either or both the vitamin K shot or vaccinations. That's where it's coming from. Let me tell you a little story. My son, Noah, who was just turned 15, when he was a baby, I had a C-section, but so he was born, okay? I did not want any shots on this baby, okay, ever. But I had a C-section, and I was just so exhausted and tired, and they pressure you and bully you. And I love a lot of nurses, okay, but sometimes some of them are awful. And they told me how babies die if they don't get this vitamin K shot. So finally, I gave in and said, okay, fine, give him the vitamin, because I thought, okay, it's just a vitamin, right? But it's not a vitamin. Well, there might be some vitamin in there, but it's something else entirely. You can actually, research this, not Google. Okay, Google is in bed with Big Pharma. They suppress all the good information that we want to know. So you need to look elsewhere to research. My point being, if you research, you will find the vitamin K shot for human infants has a 40% of the time, the infant just born will go into respiratory distress, which is what happened with Noah. He was perfectly fine for 20, 30 minutes. I'm not quite sure, but a while. They gave him this vitamin K shot, and he's in respiratory distress, and he's whisked off, and he's off into the oxygen tent, and they're doing whatever it is they're doing while they're trying to, get me happy and healthy, sort of. And my husband at the time was with me, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, go find that baby. Go find him. Make sure they're not killing him. Whatever I said, I don't know. I was quite upset with the whole thing, as I'm sure you can imagine. But that's 40%, guys. Documented. 40% of infants that get this shot have respiratory distress. What does that mean for the other 60% that get that shot? Maybe they don't go into official respiratory distress, but nonetheless, they're getting the same thing that has this affinity for lung tissue. Fast forward, when Noah was about 11, he started in with a cough. First time, you don't think anything of it because everybody coughs, right? All the horses, they cough, okay? It kept going. Long story, trying to shorten it for you, is it became an asthma cough. If anybody knows someone with asthmatics, and we've seen them on the movies, okay? It's an asthma cough. In fact, his dear brother was calling him asthma boy. I mean, geez, older brothers. Okay. So at that point, I was like, all right, this is definitely something, and I'm not going to the doctor because I know what they're going to say. Well, here's your diagnosis. You have these symptoms. Therefore, he has asthma. Therefore, here's your medication. I'm just not going to do it. Again, no offense to anyone who's gone down that road. You got to breathe. I got other options, so I worked on it. I worked on it using TBT. Like I said, it is energy work. What I did was essentially work to remove that amalgamated toxin. I'm sorry, it is hard to explain energy work. It is weird. But basically, all the molecules, they have atoms, which have electrons, neutrons, protons, and they're all zipping around with energy. And so as an energy working person, then I de-energize them. I just stop it from moving. And when they don't have the energy to hold together, they start breaking apart. And then there's surfactant and the cilia, and the immune system can go ahead and get rid of it. So Noah doesn't cough anymore. Noah doesn't have asthma. He's perfectly fine because I got rid of the toxin that I found out was injected in him as a baby, which I'm still mad about, as you can tell. Okay, now some horses, some veterinarians do give vitamin K as a full shot. So your horse may or may not have gotten that. Some don't. And I don't know about worldwide, but in the USA, some veterinarians give it, some don't give it. Okay, and it's also in some vaccines. So we're all getting this. Oh, most horses are. And I've said this in other videos or podcasts. 30 years ago, when I started being a veterinarian, the vaccines were not that harmful. It was okay. Now, I don't know what's changed. I don't know what they're putting in this stuff, but it's really bad. So that's the cause, people, is an amalgamated toxin in the lungs. It can't be removed by the body. And so it damages the lung tissue, stops the exchange of gases, i.e. breathing, and you're kind of stuck with trying to help the body open the airways and get the air in, which is not bad. It's just now you know the why. And now you're saying, well, what are we going to do about that? Am I right? Okay. Well, I have solutions for you. Okay. Couple solutions. One, find a TBT practitioner and hire them. Two, you can become a TBT practitioner, of course. You're all welcome. And then here's what I'm going to do because I really want to get this solved and fixed and moving along. I have a free Facebook group. If you would like to post the picture of your horse in this group, I personally am going to work on it to remove these amalgamated toxins from the lungs. Okay, this is a temporary group because I want to work on people, horses, okay? And then once I have full information of a wide range of horses by doing this, then I am planning to create a product, just a herbal, kind of energetical herbal thing that you can give to remove the toxins by feeding it to the horse. It's not done yet. Okay. That's why we're going to do the Facebook group first, then that. There may be other ways to get rid of this toxin with other alternative methods. I am not aware of them. So let me know if you have something that works. That'd be cool. Then I can tell people there's other things too. Okay. Meanwhile, I do want to say one last thing. You may think or know that your foal did not get this vitamin K shot. Or let's say they didn't get any vaccinations, but when a foal is in utero, so in the mom, if she has had the vitamin K shot or it's in her vaccines, that toxin can actually travel from her lungs to the baby lung tissue because it has an affinity for lung tissue. It will travel there. And then people will think, oh, that must be genetic. No, it's not in their genes. It's not. It just got traveled in the utero. Just a little aside right there. Okay, so that is all I think I have. Please check out the Facebook group. It should be in the description, and I will see you guys in there. There'll be a little video of me telling you what to do exactly in the Facebook group, and I hope to see many of you there. Okay? All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. I didn't see.